Oh, what's that?
that?
Jack.
An Almaco Jack?
Oh, weird. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go. There's a Mahi. All right. They're trying to eat my squid. They right up on the surface. Finally, one got the hook. Oh, yeah, dude. While most of the headboat trips departing northeast ports return after 4 to 8 hours of fishing, the trip Anthony DeiCicchi and I are boarding on this drizzly mid-October morning won't be returning for a day and a half. We're headed for the canyons, fishing aboard the Helen H out of Hyannis, Massachusetts, with a crew of fishermen from all over New England looking to get a fall tuna fix. As fishermen load the boat with tackle, clothes, and provisions, the mates cut enough chunks of butterfish, sardines, and herring to last for more than 20 hours of chumming. After loading our gear and selecting our spot at the rail, Cheech and I settle in for the long ride to Hudson Canyon.
So the Helen H started in the 50s. My father started the boat with a 45-foot wood boat, went to a 65-foot wood boat, which is in Capt, New York now, and then the Helen H after that, the 100-foot Helen H. 30 years ago, we decided to leave the Sheepshead Bay location and move up to Cape Cod, primarily because fishing was so much better and there's more opportunity in the party boat business. So we didn't really start that much fluke fishing early on. It was more bluefish and porgies in the spring and some sea bass. Codfish was big right out of the gate. Offshore, that was our big offshore fishery. And then as time went by, we started moving into other fisheries, including fluke. Fluke was real good in Nantucket Sound, close to home. We would have phenomenal fluke fishing on our 4-hour half-day trips where tourists could catch a 10-pound fluke. And over time, there was enough pressure there between commercial and recreational fishermen that area kind of dried up, and that's kind of common with fluke. And we moved further and further off, and for a number of years, we fished offshore in the shoals.
You took over the business from your dad?
Yes, that's correct.
When was that?
That was, well, my father passed away when I was in college, and then after that I took over the business. That was in Sheepshead Bay, and then all through the time up here. So myself and my wife moved up here in '93, and we just put our stuff on the boat and the crew, and we all headed up to the Cape. And it was a bit of a challenge at first, but it worked out well.
Now, the Helen H itself, it's a 100-foot aluminum?
100-foot aluminum boat, powered by 3 MTU 60 series, 2,500 horsepower. So because we do a lot of trips that are longer distance, speed's important for the boats that we have, so we can get trips in where you normally wouldn't be able to do it if you had a slower boat.
Now this trip we ran, how far did we run again?
150 miles. So.
That's a good run. And you is that about the furthest that you'll run?
That's about the limit on how far we would go on a canyon trip. Generally it's more in the 90 to 110 mile range, but when you're canyon fishing, it's all about water temp and bait. And right now, it's late in the season. Everything south of Nantucket and southeast of Nantucket is all cooled down as it gets later, and we have to go further to the southwest. And we'll go wherever we have to go to make the trip right.
Now, you'll start your season like to some of the far canyons that the sport boats really don't get to quite as often.
Yeah, as far east as Oceanographer's Canyon, and then work our way. A lot of times we'll start there and just march our way over the weeks further and further to the west.
So that's generally, like, the fish will move?
Yeah, the fish in the water move to the west. Generally what you have is you have the Gulf Stream coming up the coast going north and then east, but the eddies tend to curl off to the north onto the bank, and then they push back to the west. So they tend to, you tend to have this circular movement of water where where we're fishing is over time working west as the season goes on.
Now, when do you start running the canyon trips, the offshore trips?
We start around Labor Day, and then we go through till about the 3rd week of October.
Okay. And if somebody was looking to get on a canyon, their first ever tuna trip, I always recommend the headboat trip. It is the most, it's the most economical way to get to the canyons for sure, and you're going to get an education there.
Yeah,
so
we have top of the line rental equipment, which makes it easier for someone that's new at tuna fishing to be able to handle a fish. Plus, we have a great crew that takes care of the people, make sure they get everything we can do to make sure every fish comes in the boat.
And if you were going to give one tip to somebody coming on their first canyon trip, what would it be?
I would say pay attention to what everybody else, the more avid fishermen are doing. Pay attention to what I say or the captain that's running the boat says about depth, on where to be. You want to be in the right place, the right depth, the right tackle. Start off the way we do it, and if you want to switch up from there later on, that's fine too. But we've been doing it a long time. We try and get everybody situated so everybody's got a good shot.
Now, would you recommend, if you were going to come on one of these trips and you had to get some sleep in, if you weren't going to drink all the coffee in the boat and then stay at the rail all night, when would you take that nap? When would be the ideal time?
So what I try and tell people is anytime that the boat's running, that's a good time to catch up on some sleep on the ride out. As much as it's hard to sleep during the day, try your best, get some hours in. So when we're, like, for instance, last night we were fishing through the night, and half the people run out of steam, and sometimes they miss out on some of the best fishing. Sometimes they bite early in the evening. Sometimes, the last fish was at 6:30 in the morning. So it's you want to be at the rail when the best opportunities are there.
Taking Captain Joe's advice, I retire to the below deck bunks to get a little more sleep until it's time to fish. So every headboat has kind of a different approach to these offshore trips. The Helen H likes to begin them by trolling. So we just got to the fishing grounds. Captain Joe Huckmeyer said he's got some good, clean water temperature he likes. And we just set out the trolling spread here. And Cheech and I are in group 3. The way they operate it is they break all the different passengers into groups. So there's group 1, 8 guys on that, group 2, 8 guys, and then group 3, 8 guys. And you get assigned one rod while you're in your group, going at certain intervals. I think it's 15 or 20-minute intervals. And if your rod goes down, you get that fish. But when somebody's fighting a fish, the Helen H Joe will go off, pull back the throttles, and you'll have a chance to drop a jig to catch any stragglers that might be up, as long as you do it on the front half of the boat. So that's why Cheech and I are getting our jigging gear ready to, when there's a hookup, since we're not going to be up there till group 3, we're going to run to the front of the boat, drop our jigs, see if we could pick up some loose change. We troll for a couple hours, rotating through every group, but don't raise a fish. After seeing some promising marks on the fish finder, Captain Joe decides to pull in the lines and begin chunking. It's as simple as it gets, man. Egg sinker, bead to protect the knot. So this has got Seaguar 80-pound thread lock, which is a hollow core. I did an end loop in it, and then did a wind-on leader, which has 60-pound test. No, excuse me, 80-pound test, Seaguar blue label. And this is going to be one of our jigging setups for the night. I just got to decide what jig to put on there. So Matt, the head mate here on the Helen H, said that the fish are primarily on squid, so that pink might be a good color for your jigs. I guess I could have shared that with Cheech.
Yeah, you waited. You definitely waited.
So chunking's a lot about stealth, man. So you'd think, 40 to 80 pound yellowfin tuna, you think you'd want a big hook, but in reality, you want a hook that's small enough to be able to hide in the chunk. So this is a Gamakatsu Nautilus Circle, and I might even go down one size. I think this is a 5.0. I might go to a 4.0.
There have been a couple of
fish at
fish
hole?
caught deep.
Yeah, you can
as
cut
well
it in half
during
if you
the
want
day,
to. Cut the tail off.
Okay.
As it gets
Behind
later in
the
the
head.
afternoon,
Squid or,
it kind of moves towards the surface. But
Go
right now
one
it
squid
is
and one herring.
Oh, look at this, dude. Cheech. Look. Tommy. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, so we just got off the troll. We're out in Hudson Canyon, and we just started chumming. Hope to get some tunas by the boat, and I got a squid. Jimmy's got a herring, and we're gonna see what they're in the mood for. See if we can get one hooked up here.
Yeah, Captain Joe said we tried trolling, nothing came up. So he's been marking fish, but everything's been deep, been 250, 300 feet down. So we're setting up the chum slick, hoping to get some stuff a little bit shallower, and setting our baits down to where the tunas are. So I always thought one of the things with tuna chunking is you wanted to kind of let your bait go at the same rate as the chum. So rather than just bomb it down there to the depth, kind of let it out a little bit more slowly, gives it more of a natural fall. It looks more like the chum that's bringing them to the boat as it flutters down.
In the wide expanse of the continental shelf, floating structure, like a high flyer and buoy marking a set of commercial lobster pots, acts like a magnet for small bait fish seeking shelter from the legions of pelagic predators. Seeking an easy meal and some shelter themselves, Mahi Mahi also congregate around those buoys, at least until a good chum slick pulls them away and onto a bigger piece of floating structure, like say a 100-foot aluminum headboat.
They're trying to eat my squid. They right up on the surface. Finally, one got the hook. Oh yeah, dude. All right. Oh, here we go. There's a mahi. All right. There's some unbelievable colors on that, and you can almost see them change before your eyes. I've got blues, yellows, greens. Oh, there we go. All right. All pretty much the same size, but they're definitely, we've got the structure right there. This one's a little bit, might be a little bit better. A little bit bigger than my last one. Yeah, so we got a whole ton of mahi. There's the high flyer right there. And we've got the mahi below us. They've moved off the high flyer into our chum slick. And we're breaking the ice, some fish, getting some meat in the box.
Oh, come on, go over.
Oh, what's
What is that?
Jack.
An Almaco Jack?
Oh, weird. Cool, man.
That's very cool.
It's a new species. It's an Almaco Jack, dude. So mixed in with the mahi, we just passed some pots. And yeah, it's a new species for me. No tuna yet, but we're putting some fish in the boat, so that's a good sign.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Anthony DeiCicchi with On the Water, and I want to talk to you about dressing appropriately. We're on the Helen H in the Northeast Canyons in the fall, targeting yellowfin tuna. You never know what you're going to get dealt for a hand with the weather, so you have to cover all your bases. And the easiest way to do that is to think about staying dry at all times and staying warm at all times. Now, we know it's easier to shed layers than add layers. Sometimes these flurries when you're tuna fishing out in the canyons, they happen very quick. You don't want to have to walk away from the rail. You want to maximize your time fishing. So to do that, guys, dress appropriately. Taking it from the bottom up, Deck Boss rubber boots from Grundens. They're going to keep your feet dry. I got wool socks on underneath these because these rubber boots can get cold if it gets really cold, so you want to have an additional layer under there in the wool socks. As you can see underneath my bibs, I got a pair of Grundens sweatpants. They're stretchy, super comfortable. Your bibs slide over them really easy. They don't get caught on them. An extra layer of warmth from the waist down is nice. And then you have your outer shell, which is the Gore-Tex bibs from Grundens. That's going to be impenetrable by water, going to keep you dry. And then moving up, I always like to start with a performance shirt at the base. Just because if you're fighting a tuna, you're going to get sweaty. That wicks the moisture off of your body and it keeps you dry and it dries out quickly. On top of that, I have a Grundens flannel, which is another layer of warmth and comfort. And then at nightfall, when it gets cold, I was wearing this fleece hoodie from Grundens right here over my flannel. Super warm. You don't get a chance to go back and run to the dock or the truck to go pick stuff up, so you want to take the time to think about what you're going to wear when you're going to spend 2 days in the canyons. And then the outer shell, that's what keeps you super dry at all times. Again, Gore-Tex, impenetrable by water. It's going to keep the wind off you. It's going to keep you super comfortable. It's going to seal that outer shell. That's basically the best way to approach dressing appropriately for 2 days in the Northeast Canyons in the fall. What do I want to do right now? Do I want to drop a tuna bait down since everybody's around Mahi?
I was wondering that myself.
Huh?
I was wondering that myself, but like there's some tuna creeping around down there.
The Mahi action slows, and everyone on board sets their sights on the bigger marks Captain Joe has spotted 250 feet down. The slowdown is only temporary, though. As we drift toward another high flyer, another school of Mahi finds our chum slick, this one made up of bigger fish, and the Mahi mayhem resumes.
Oh, is that quick? That's a better one there. Absolute craziness now with the Mahi right around, just to pass another high flyer, and a little bit better class of them than we had on the last one. My biggest one of the trip so far, man.
As we take in a beautiful sunset 150 miles from home, I'm content to have some fish in the cooler. Regardless of what happens overnight, at least we beat the skunk. But the trip is far from over. Cheech and I slug some cold coffee, check our rigging, and get ready for the main event.
You're getting bit? Cheech is on. Yes!
Let's go!
Cheers. Fried chicken on a boat.
It's got to be top. It's got to be a top 5 fishing boat food. It's cold fried chicken.
Yeah.
Good mahi bite. Richmond past the high flyer, sounds like it's starting up again. No signs of tuna just yet. Heard some boats nearby have had some. So as the sun sets, we're hoping we'll get a shot at some tuna on the chunk. But meantime, I'm happy. Fish in the box, chicken in the belly.
Yeah. Just got to, you know, capitalize when the opportunity presents itself is all. Let's face it, mahi, although fun to catch and delicious table fare, are the participation trophy of the canyons. They're the contingency plan to avoid coming home with an empty cooler after a 300-mile round trip. While I'm happy to have fish tacos in my future, I'm eager to see what the night shift has in store aboard the Helen H. As we switch over the tackle, Jim checks in with Matt Solito, one of the best mates in the game, to get the rundown on rigging our chunking rods for tuna.
Hey Matt, so we had some mahi madness too.
Oh yeah, about 150 of them.
Really? Yeah, I guess you guys know because you have to cut them all.
Yeah, up to 15 pounds.
Oh, that's pretty. Hey man, that was a great start. We're settling now for the night chunk. Now, I want to make sure I've got my rigging perfect for when the tuna do move through. What do you recommend for like your basic chunking rig?
So the size of the fish we're catching tonight are all probably going to be 40 to 90 pounds. So we're going to use 60 to 100 pound leaders.
Okay.
Mostly fluorocarbon. We use a lot of Andy Pink also. And for that size fish, we're going to go with like a 6-aught or a 7-aught live bait hook, short shank. But generally just a straight J hook for them.
Okay. Now, when you hook the bait, do you try to hide the hook in it, or doesn't?
Not necessarily. I mean, you can go through the extra effort, but it really doesn't make much sense. During the day, it makes a lot of difference, but at night, generally, they're black hooks and it's black down there. So
it's a good point.
They're not that smart.
How long's the leader about? How long should I make my leader?
6 to 9 feet.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm a little short right now. I probably should lengthen mine up.
You got like a 4.5.
Got about 4 feet, so I'll retie
Was it
that.
cut back from mahi fishing?
It is. Yeah.
Got to retie that.
And the egg sinkers now. Will you adjust the weight depending on where the fish are, or do you have kind of a standard weight? Is there somewhere I should start?
Years ago, we used to love using egg sinkers. It was the norm out chunking tuna. Everybody used egg sinkers. So we kind of switched. There's one of them, but we use the black ones. This is a fish finder rig, a standard fish finder rig.
Yeah.
So the wind picks up, the drift picks up. We start moving real quick. Clip this off, put on a 20 or a 16 or a 14. You know, the drift slows down, the current slows down. You go back to a 5 or an 8 or a 2. Or if some fish, pop up right on the surface, unclip it. Unclip your sinker, just reclip the snap, obviously. Flip your bait right over and you're in.
All right, that's good to know, man.
Yeah.
I wish I should have made this call before I came out here. I've got a whole bunch of egg sinkers, but
you know that.
But Matthew, thank you very much, man.
Anytime, Joe. Anytime.
This should be looking forward to settling for the night. So probably happen a couple hours early morning.
Yeah. 3
likely.
a.m. usually that dinner bell gets rung and they start coming.
Awesome,
so
man.
we'll get that leader tied up and
we got some time.
Plenty.
Perfect, man. Thank you.
Anytime.
As it turns out, we didn't have plenty of time. I'd barely had enough time to get my bait in the water before I heard the beautiful sound of a tuna tail beating away at the deck.
We're not too long after dark, and we weren't expecting the tuna thing. We just talked to Matt. Weren't expecting any tuna for a while, and then just had 3 back to back real fast. Nice little flurry. So, all on squid. Cheech and I switched over to squid, hoping maybe we get our numbers called next.
When the tuna find the slick, you never know how long they'll stay. So after the first fish came over the rail, I started feeling the pressure. Was my bait at the right depth? Would my knots be strong enough? Was my choice of bait the right one? Fortunately, the tuna answered those questions quickly.
You're getting bit? Cheech is on. Yes! All right, dude.
Until you've seen it, it's tough to imagine how tuna fishing on a headboat even works. To get a tuna over the rail, you need an experienced crew, like the one on the Helen H. Within seconds of hooking up, there's a mate or Captain Joe at your side, ready with the gaff to help navigate around the other fishermen and lines.
Woo! Good job, Cap. Thanks, buddy. That's what we came on the Helen H for, baby. Nice yellowfin.
Hell yeah, dude. That's a big one.
That's a fatty. That's awesome. Ate it right out of my hand.
I saw it, dude.
I was just hoping it wasn't someone else's line. So basically this yellowfin ate a whole squid right out of my hand, right around 100 feet where they've been biting. Just letting it down slow. Mate's about to brain spike this fish right now. It basically kills the fish instantly, cuts off the central nervous system, breaks the nerves, all that stuff. That brain spike kills him instantly. Nice shot. It's almost like you've done this before. So basically that shuts things down. That helps prevent the buildup of lactic acid. Next thing is we'll get it on ice and hopefully do it another 5 or 6 times. Let's go. Let's go! Nice baby.
Just right through the tip like this, right?
Yep.
Dude, my hands are shaking. I'm so excited.
Just as I'm getting a bait back in the water after my fish, Jimmy gets his shot.
Lost the whole thing.
Yeah, so I just got back in the water. Jimmy unfortunately broke his fish off. I have a suspect top shot that definitely has some shape from running down the side of the boat. But we're fishing and we'll see if this top shot holds. I don't know what state of affair my leader system is or any of that stuff. I don't even know where my rod is. I just ran, grabbed a jigging rod and ran to the back and fired a jig down, expecting to get tight right away. I look over and you get tight. It was awesome. Bites have been coming pretty steady. Probably 6 or 7 yellowfin caught by now. At least, if not more. So just on the chunk, we've got the chum slip going and just kind of letting your bait go down naturally, as slow as possible. Should be right in the zone right now, right around 100 feet. Come on, yella. Give me a little slurpy slew.
Yeah, dude, look at that. So they call them triple tails. They're real prevalent down south in Florida, Louisiana, and Gulf. And they have those 3 fins. They look like a saltwater crappie almost. We're seeing some cool stuff out here, Cheech.
Yeah, you never know what you're gonna come across in the canyons.
Got a pink jig on here, hoping that maybe that'll tempt them. The bites have been coming around 100 feet. Captain Joe's been seeing them come around on the depth finder at 100 feet, so I'm trying to drop this below 100 feet, maybe 150, 200 feet, then work it back up through the water column. I want to do everything at once right now. I want to jig squid. I want to drop a chunk. I want to jig the jig. Put the sword bait out. I want to have a
This flurry started as soon as I started waxing a floss loop to start setting up my sword rod. And I didn't know I saw the first fish before anybody said anything. And I thought it was just free swimming. And then it was the quietest tuna I ever caught. And then I heard there was a second one caught and I'm like, I gotta get down here.
And you were the third, I think.
Yeah,
No, you might have been the
fourth. I came right
fourth.
down and boom.
That was awesome. I'm so parched right now. I don't even want to stop to take a drink.
Oh, bummed I lost that fish.
You got nothing but chances for more, buddy.
All right, re-rigged my chunk rod. Fresh knots, fresh line,
I wish I could say that about mine.
fresh hopes and dreams.
I got boat rash on my top shot.
Did you see? Did you see when I was spooling the top shot and I dropped the spool in the water?
Yeah, I did see that.
Dude, this has all gone downhill for us so fast. I mean, not downhill, like in a chaotic way. We've not comported ourselves as well as we should have. I'm trying to put new top shot on, the spool dumps over the side.
I just feel one nick after another in my top shot.
And that's part of the I mean, even with a long rod, like these are 7-foot rods, which you generally want a longer rod for this tuna fishing. You know, to try to keep it away from the boat. Try to keep your offering out and away from chafing the underside of this boat, because you're 7 or 8 feet above the water. Overspooled this. I need a tuna to come tighten it up for me.
Just the tip, Jimmy, just the tip. I like to make sure that the squid is hooked right in the tip at the top and centered into the cartilage so that it doesn't spin and it sits right in the water.
As the action peters out after midnight, the number of anglers manning the rail dwindles until it's just me, Jim, a couple of other guys, and the mates. Having lost his only tuna, Jimmy begins feverishly changing between metal, soft plastic, and squid. Just when it seems like the tuna bite is shut off for good, I see a bent spinning rod out of the corner of my eye.
Oh, ho, ho. Beat him here, bud.
Strange noise coming out of here.
Nice job, guys. Expert angler Jim. Dude, that looked like a really fun setup to fight that fish on.
Yeah, it's a little bit short for a headboat, but it had a lot of guts. Like when you could get it up here and put the full bend of it, man, it put a lot of heat on the fish. It was a really lightweight and fun to fight it. But the one place it was tricky is when that fish would try to go under the boat.
Yeah.
And you'd have to go from up here to down here. But it all worked out in the end.
You handled it well.
Yeah, I
You handled it kind of like you knew what you were doing.
Just fake it till you make it, I guess.
It was nice and calm pretty much the entire time until about an hour and a half ago.
Tuna chop.
Yep, they like to eat in this stuff.
Blood on my boots, it's a good sign.
Covered in blood. I love it. There's nothing better than hearing that like there's tuna under the boat at a depth when you're like, I'm pretty much at that depth right now.
Or I'm headed there, or I'm above it.
Or I'm like very close to it.
Yeah, Cheech and I are both using the same rods, slightly different reels, but they're the Tsunami Carbon Shield 2 rod. Now I'm using it to jig. It's a pretty versatile rod. It's very lightweight, great action, has a kind of a moderate action. It's almost like a jigging type rod where you have a deep bend in it, but it's lightweight, has a lot of power. I've got it matched with the Ocean Max 9, the Maxwell Ocean Max 9, so it's a little bit smaller than Cheech's, which is going to make it lighter and easier to jig with. Cheech has the Ocean Max 10 on the same setup that he's chunking with, and I've really enjoyed using this. It's got a little extra length at 7 feet. It's rated for 40 to 80 pound test braid, and man, I haven't felt overpowered. Like I lost a fish on the chunk rod earlier, did not feel overpowered, just kind of hit the boat with the line and frayed it, but great setup. You know, you don't have to go too fancy for this chunking. It's like almost simpler is better. So good reliable reel with a nice drag, a rod that's going to be lightweight because you're going to be holding it all night. You know, if you're going to stay at the rail all night, you know, you don't have one of the rod holders. You're going to keep it in hand, especially if you're jigging. Something that's going to be comfortable to fish with. That's really important. This is a setup too that won't break the bank.
Part of the beauty of headboat canyon fishing is being left to your own devices and fishing however you'd like, as long as you aren't interfering with the other fishermen. This gives you the freedom to jig, chunk, fish for squid, or even send out a bait for swordfish. With plenty of real estate on the previously crowded rail, it was the perfect time for Jim and I to take the rods we'd brought specifically for swordfish and send out our rigged squids under our homemade lighted pool noodle floats. Having never caught one, broadbill swordfish are at the very pinnacle of my fishing hit list. In fact, between tuna flurries earlier in the night, a lucky angler next to us hooked an undersized swordfish on a bait sent down for yellowfin. Action came quickly. Jim got bit first by a big blue shark, and my bite came immediately after. As Jim and Matt deal with the shark, my float disappears. This isn't a blue shark. The fish is too athletic. As I get it close, the floss loop for my sinker jams in a roller guide and the leader chafes on the underside of the boat. But not before a fisherman at the stern yells, "Who has the pup swordfish?"
So Cheech, we stayed at the rail all night, man.
Just a couple of buddies having a good time
Eating
on
snacks,
a party boat
eating
at the
Pringles.
That was a great night, man.
Usually I catch a little bit of sleep, but I slept so well on the ride out.
Yeah, exactly. Same here.
I think I'll be doing a lot of sleeping on the ride back, though.
Yeah. Definitely at the stage of the trip where everything's harder to do.
I feel like we're running a little
You're
low
like
on
slow
gear.
motion.
Our like once perfectly organized tackle is just turned into some sort of yard sale here on the deck of the Helen H.
Right?
Oh, you need?
I see it. I need a tuna to wake me up.
It's usually a
That's what
jolt
I
of
need.
energy that can't be matched with other caffeine. Getcha?
Yeah.
I would almost had a bite.
Me and tuna.
They'll wake you up.
Me and the tuna are having the same breakfast.
It's one of those like double-edged swords. I don't want to see daylight, but I kind of want to see daylight. You know what I mean?
No, I do. See,
Like
I do because I think
I want
we
to see it starting because that's when you get excited. It's like it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it'd be different. Different if the bite was going right now and you'd be worried it was going to shut off. But I think we might be in a situation where a little bit of light might actually kick things off for us.
Well, Jim, it's time for a little breakfast snack.
I'm feeling I know what this is going to be. Better marshmallow to whole grain ratio.
Little morning treat. Magically delicious. Look at perfect amount of marshmallow, like meltiness on the bottom to hold it together.
Looks a little light on the mallow to me.
There's more than 13 hours of darkness in mid-October, but even still, dawn came a little too quickly. The daybreak tuna bite consisted of just a single fish, caught before the sun had even crested the horizon. Jim and I had been at the rail for the first line in right until Captain Joe began the northwesterly troll toward home. An 18-hour stretch fueled by energy drinks, coffee, cold fried chicken, and the anticipation of what could happen at any moment. Following sensory overload of an overnighter to the canyons, I crashed hard on the ride back, dreaming of landed yellowfin, lost swordfish, and the next time I could ride a headboat to the tuna grounds.